Hey guys, welcome to the Save Continue podcast. My name is Shanae. This is Tommy Scalpy.
Hello.
And this is Ryan Robinson.
You know he doesn't like it when you say his name like that.
I think she just doesn't know how to pronounce it right.
Shelby.
Well, there you go.
Ryan Robinson.
Yep, hi.
Every week we get there and talk about video game and video game related stuff. What have you guys been playing lately?
I've been playing new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which is good because I didn't play it on the Wii U. And I really like it. I won't say it's the best 2D Mario, but it is one of the best 2D Marios.
What are the best things about that game?
I like that, it's sort of a mix between World and 3, which I think most people would agree are the two top 2D Mario games.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot. There's a lot of secrets in it, like all Mario games have, but secrets that kind of remind you of the secrets in the original Super Mario Brothers.
What do you mean?
Like exiting levels through hidden passages and hidden question blocks and stuff like that. A lot of stuff like that. I like that stuff a lot. Much like in the original Super Mario Brothers, in the second level, I found my way to the midpoint of the game, which I'm not playing that way because I want to actually play all the levels.
Right.
But I like stuff like that.
How's the multiplayer in that game?
I've not touched it yet, but I imagine that'll happen at some point. Bradley has shown a new interest in Mario, so
that's good.
That'll be a thing once he's done with Odyssey. And I started Wargroove.
Oh yeah, I meant to pick that up. How is it?
I mean, it's exactly what you think it's going to be.
Advance Wars?
Yeah, but by started, I've played 20 minutes of it so far.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that was. I remember back when you got Tiny Metal, and you seem to be kind of into that, at least for a brief period of time.
I love Tiny Metal.
In that 20 minutes that you spent with Wargroove, how much is there a lot of exposition? There's a lot of talking before you get to actually do anything?
A little bit. I mean, there's definitely a story there, but there's way more story in Tiny Metal. You'll sit there for 10 minutes reading sometimes in Tiny Metal. I feel bad for Tiny Metal because I feel like they, a couple of years before, decided, hey, let's make an Advance Wars because nobody's fucking doing it,
right?
And no one picked it up because it doesn't look like Advance Wars.
Sure.
But
I feel like it looked enough like Advance Wars to be into it.
I mean, it's not pixel art,
Yeah.
But I like it a lot. I'm sure Wargroove's great too.
Yeah. That reminds me of how I need to get back to Into the Breach, because I've actually yet to finish a complete run in that game. But that game was the few hours that I spent with that game was really good. I'd love to get back to it, but there's just too many video games.
Yeah.
There's way too many video games now. In fact, I think that we should eliminate half of all video games.
Also, Tiny Metal made me think of something. Not Tiny Metal. Wargroove made me think of something in that I haven't played a lot of Fire Emblem, but the Fire Emblem I've played, I've really enjoyed.
Right.
My favorite being Awakening. I think that's probably a lot of people's current favorite.
How different is each Fire Emblem from one another? Because I've only
there's a lot of similarities, but they can be quite different.
Yeah.
Shadows of Valentia. Was that the last one? Echoes of Valentia. Whatever the more recent 3DS remake of the old one was, is significantly different. There's 3D movement in that game. But anyways, going back to Fire Emblem, I think that when I first saw the gameplay reveal for Three Houses, I was like, there's something about this that I really don't like visually, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And I think what it was is that I've never played a console Fire Emblem. I've only ever played the handheld ones.
Yeah, same here.
And I really like, on the map, when you're positioning your units, I really like the pixel art that they use.
Yeah.
And in the console ones, it's polygonal 3D figures, you know? So I think that's why Three Houses just looks ugly to me. I'm sure I'll still play it, but I'm sure it'll still be really fun. But it does not look visually pleasing to me. I mean, all the anime stuff does, but as far as the in-game models, I don't like it.
That's a Switch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't played Fire Emblem since GBA.
Yeah.
I don't remember liking that, but I haven't played. I haven't even touched one since that. No, wait. I think that.
I know you borrow Awakening.
Yeah, I think I played that for a very, very short time.
Yeah.
But even still, like, it didn't have enough of it. It didn't leave enough of an impression on me for me to remember like anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody seems really into those Fire. Not everybody, but like the people who are into Fire Emblem like are really into Fire Emblem.
I mean, they're great.
So I feel like I should give those games another shot. If and when I get a Switch.
Yeah, well, and if Fire Emblem's a bit much for you, like War Groove or Advance Wars, like it's Fire Emblem Light, you know.
Yeah, I do like turn-based strategy more than I like real-time strategy.
Oh yeah, me too.
Real-time strategy is just too much, which is why I was always garbage at like Warcraft and Starcraft.
I've been meaning to jump
All the
into Red
types.
Alert, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I should I don't know which one it is, but whichever Red Alert has Jenny McCarthy in it, I want to play that one.
Yeah.
Or the one that has Billy D. Williams in it, I'll play that one too.
So what have you been playing?
A lot of Monster Hunter,
I saw that.
like a lot.
Stop playing that.
I can't. So
So I've never played Monster Hunter, but I wanted to play it for like an hour and a half today. And I don't know.
Snooze fest, huh?
It looks like there's a lot of cooking involved in that game.
Yeah, Cooking Mama. Cooking Monster.
I don't know. I don't know if you blacked out at any point in that hour and a half, but there's one aspect of the game that involves cooking, and that is the time before the hunt when you go eat your meal to get your stat buffs, and then that's it. I recently discovered an aspect of the end game that had previously been unknown to me somehow, or like even after having spent over 400 hours with that game. So I'm recently learning about a new to me, an augment system to where you can upgrade your weapons and armor past their like original limits and like add new stats or aspects to the weapons. But that in and of itself requires an extensive amount of grinding, and the RNG in that game is such where I don't know. It can be
Tedious.
very.
Yeah.
And there are like some things that you can only get by killing a certain, like not a certain monster, but a certain type of monster.
Yeah.
And so, for example, like.
I mean, that's the nature of those mechanics. So
Yeah, I want to upgrade because I've been using the lance, right? So in order to augment the lance, you need what is called a stream stone, but like each weapon has its own stream stone, and you don't know, like the stream stone that you get is going to be random. So there are a good chance to get a stream stone for a weapon that you don't even use. So I'm just killing these monsters over and over again, hoping, and like a stream stone doesn't even always drop. So I'm just doing these hunts over and over again, hoping to get the thing that I need. And it's just been kind of, it's been a lot. But at the same time, it's tedious. Like I know that in the moment, I know that it's tedious. I know what's going on. But at the same time, I'm still having a good time. So, I mean, I feel like that's what matters. Then, of course, as when Shanae was here the other night, I ended up buying Need for Speed Payback for $6.
You were super excited about it.
I mean, I was excited to get a Need for Speed game for $6. So I wanted to try it because, like, I had heard, like, back when that game was announced, I saw it and I was like, dude, I love Fast and the Furious, and this game looks like that. So I was really excited when I saw it, and then like I kept hearing people say like some less than favorable things about it, and I can kind of see a few of the things that they were talking about. But overall, the game is. I mean, again, I haven't really played a whole lot of it, but the game seems fun from what I've played of it. It's very easy to pick up. in typical Need for Speed fashion, the story stuff is kind of
Garbage.
But you know the actual driving so far is fun, so I'm enjoying that. And that is, I think that's it. I don't think I've really been playing a whole lot outside of that.
I mean, that sounds like a lot.
I have been thinking of going through The Last of Us Part 1 again, just so I can refresh.
Oh, I went through the order again.
Yeah, how was that?
Fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I still don't understand why everybody hates that game so much.
Well, in the little time that I played of it, like I don't like the actual gameplay. Like, granted, that the criticisms I heard of that game, a lot of it was like there's a lot of walking and talking.
Yeah, let's save it because I want to do a topic on like games we like that everybody hates.
Okay. I'll leave that there. But I will just say this: the order, so far, pretty good.
Man, I already have a game in mind. You probably know what it is.
Say it. Just
It's Kingdom Hearts.
No, it's not Kingdom Hearts. Though it is a Square game, so.
People say Squinix now.
Oh, sorry, it's a Squinix game.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Though I have yet to start my second playthrough of Kingdom Hearts 3. I have been looking at a lot of the since like my first playthrough was a blind playthrough, so I have been looking at a lot of I was blindfolded while I played it. But yeah, so I have been looking at it where like you can find like items that you need for crafting, things like that, recipe books where you can get like specialty items because there's like a secret menu. Things like that. I have been like still playing my Atelmies a lot. I also have been like picking up my Switch, which I haven't done in a hot minute, and looking at the Switch store.
Have you seen that cat one on the Switch?
Mm-mm.
It's like it's around like 20 or 40, and like you're a cat human. Like at nighttime you're a cat,
Yikes.
during the day you're a human.
Yikes.
You're trying to find a man.
Yikes.
Okay, I have not seen that, but
Yeah.
part of me really wants it.
No, I feel like a big part of you wants that shit.
Yeah, a big part of me wants that. Yeah, I've been looking at what Atomy games are coming to the Switch and what are on there now.
A ton, man. There's a lot on there already.
I know, and I'm super excited about it. So I'm just like kind of like I've been.
Every time I see them, I think of you.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been planning my next playthrough of Kingdom Hearts, and then also 3, and then also looking at what I'm going to get next after I finish it.
Yeah.
So I've been actually pretty busy this week, so I haven't had a lot of time for video games besides like my mobile games.
Well, since you got my account on your thing, you can play like War Groove or
You know what that is?
Mario.
You know what that is?
I have Mario. Oh, the new Mario they just said, yeah.
New old one, yeah.
New old one. But also I have been I had a lot of time where I'm like busy, but I can still like listen to stuff. So I also have been listening to a lot of videos on histories of like developers.
They're gonna say you listen to a lot of video games.
Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of video games. But yeah, I've been listening to a lot of history of like developers.
Sure.
Such as who?
Since we talked about it the other week in software.
Okay.
And you know, like how they just like started, things like that.
Yeah.
I have a book called Masters of Doom that you should read.
You know what Doom is?
Yes, I've heard of it. But yeah, that's all I
You know
really...
who John Romero is?
Yeah, you know terrible names.
I mean,
I listen to
I
things.
feel like he would have been mentioned in that It video you were watching.
No, he was, but I don't...
No, he wasn't mentioned.
But yeah, anyways. So this week we got together so we can talk about permadeath.
Perm.
Yeah.
Perms.
It's about getting perms.
Yeah, because like, I think this is the route we were wanting to go through. That like, you know, like sometimes permadeath really sucks because like you created a canon or you're attached to a character and like they're gone forever.
Yeah. And I don't think that that's the case. I think that for most people that I talk to about video games, permadeath sucks for them in a strictly mechanical sense, insofar as I worked on this character and now they're gone, and that's that's as far as the attachment goes for a lot of people that I've talked to. But for me, it is usually that where I spend time with these characters, and a lot of the times with the games that I play, the characters are kind of they don't really have established backstories in the fiction of the game, so I create that it's like in a very much a make your own fun kind of way.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
If you're the game developer, you make the fun for me.
Sure.
I mean, headcanon has its place.
Yeah. You know, she took her.
Headcanon sounds like an awesome weapon.
Yeah. But you know, like you know, it's very much like it's usually in games where like any kind of narrative, like the narrative generally takes a backseat to like the actual gameplay and what you're doing, or the narrative is presented in a way that it's important, but then it also doesn't lend itself to fleshing out the characters, especially considering the fact that in a lot of the games that I play, like these characters are procedurally generated, and
like Darkest Dungeon,
like Darkest Dungeon, or State of Decay, or XCOM. Like these are procedurally generated characters. So
at least with like State of Decay, like you get to give them like personality things.
yeah, well, the game assigns those for you.
Well, I'm saying like you have personality things to base off your character.
Yeah.
So, like Darkest Dungeon, you don't have like any story for them.
Yeah, you really don't in XCOM either.
Yeah. So a lot of it is like, well, I think I mentioned before that I kind of made the mistake of when playing XCOM, I named like a lot of my units after people that I know in real life.
Yeah.
And I think that like in doing so, it has made me more prone to save scumming in that game in a way that I probably wouldn't otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, you know, like Tommy gets vaporized by an alien, I'm like, Tommy, no, and then I like have to reload the save right before that happened. And you know, and if I had just named him a random dude, I probably would have, you know, in my head like assigned some kind of story for that person.
Mm-hmm.
But like the story for the character that I named after a person that I know is their actual life story, and they abruptly are a soldier in this fight against aliens.
So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So similar to that, like back to Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem is very much the same.
Yeah.
In that there is permadeath, but like you do get attached to those characters through the game's own will, like not by no part of your own, right?
Sure.
Like, there is good story there.
Mm-hmm.
There is relationship building there, and mechanically, it's useful to have those characters, right?
Yeah.
Like specifically in Awakening, you build bonds with those characters, and if you're, you know, alongside those characters, you buff each other. You know?
Yeah.
It's surprising to me that more games of that type don't do that.
Yeah.
Like it's surprising to me that like I could see it not being a thing in Darkest Dungeon because everybody's just depressed all the time. But like with a game like XCOM or a game like State of Decay, like you would think that like there would be bonds, like maybe not always romantic, but like you have a best friend that you go into battle with all the time.
Right.
And those are the kind of things that I've had to assign for myself, and like especially like in the with State of Decay, like you know, like I have this grouchy old man who is paired up with a plucky youngster, and like and they kind of play, and like in my head they play off of each other, right? And then so like when one of them dies, it's just like he's not going to go on any missions for a while because he's really upset. And the game does have a mechanic to tell you like it is a very mechanical way. Like a survivor dies, and then morale in the group drops, but it translates in a very literal way of morale is dropped, so this is the result of it. Like these numbers are dropping.
But I like it. Like in Fire Emblem, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Because like first time through that game, I didn't want anybody to die, so I load up my old saves.
I did that a lot.
But going through it again a couple years later, I'm like, no, I'm going to play the game the way they want me to play it.
Sure.
You know, and it's much more impactful. Like it's makes the next fight feel more important. I think it's a good gameplay mechanic in that style of game.
Yeah, it is. It's just hard like because I want to like when you decide that you're gonna play that way.
Yeah.
Then it's like for me anyway, like the game kind of takes on a second life because
Right.
it's like I never played this game that way before. But like the challenge is reconciling the idea that in war people die,
Right.
or in the zombie apocalypse somebody's going to die, right? Not everybody's going to live, and like reconciling with that and being okay with continuing the game, even if I lose my favorite character or like my best survivor goes down or whatever the case may be, like that's just something that's going to happen.
What I don't like, have you guys ever played Patapon?
No.
So I love Patapon. There's 3 games. They're all PSP. You can get the remastered version of the first one for PS4 now. It's a music rhythm game, right? But not in the traditional sense. You have certain like little songs that you perform to move your troops forward, and you perform a different song to make them attack, and a different song to make them defend, right? All that kind of stuff. And there's like, I guess I'd call it like permadeath light in that game, right? In that, if one of your troops falls during a battle, if you pick up their helm before the battle is over, you can then resurrect them. But if you don't, then they're just gone. Right? And I don't like in Patapon. While I really love Patapon, it sucks in that game because like all that does to you is just make you have to grind more levels.
Right.
That's all it's doing. So,
do the characters in Patapon distinguish themselves from one another in any kind of an equal way? Or?
I mean, they're all little black guys, but like all you do is like you're getting different equipment for them.
Okay.
To make them better, and there's different classes.
Do you name them or anything?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like there's nothing story-wise that would make you attach those characters. It's purely mechanical.
Right.
But like it just sucks because if one's gone, and it's rare that you'll actually lose one, like completely lose one. But if you do, then you're crafting another guy, and then you're going and doing easier battles just to get better gear for that guy.
Yeah.
It gets pretty annoying pretty fast.
I don't know. I consider like Sims definitely like with like them dying in there. I mean, granted, you can recreate the character or save the character, so it's not like as impactful in some aspects.
The Sims?
Yeah. But I mean, like obviously you're playing as that character and living their life. Like there is a canon that you can put to anything, but you're also seeing them do mundane things.
Right.
I feel like it's definitely a community that like can like all agree that they have grieved a death.
Yeah. I think like with The Sims is funny because my family, there's been thousands of hours of the fucking Sims, and like it's funny because when you start a new game or a new family or whatever, most players tend to start young because you want to have time with that character, right? Build up relationships. Maybe you get a family going, so when that character dies, you're continuing the same game.
Right.
I think one of the most interesting things to do is start your sim off as an elderly person because then you've got like a couple of days to accomplish what they want to accomplish. Like it turns it into a different game.
I just think that because I think they introduced like the aging mechanics in Sims in The Sims 2.
Sorry.
Who's calling you?
My mom.
I think they introduced the aging mechanics in The Sims 2, whereas in The Sims 1, like they were all just like everybody's just frozen in time, right? And like there wasn't like they would.
There was babies.
Well, they would progress toward their goals, or like they would advance in their careers, but like everything about that sim was just static, right? Like whoever they were, and that when you created them, that's who they were going to be, until like something killed them, right? Whereas like Sims 2 on, like the idea of like even if like especially if you start a sim like if you start like a sim like at like the youngest possible age, right? And then going through the game, like going through their life and like watching them like do like achieve milestones and like forge relationships throughout their life and then get old and die. And I think, and I could definitely understand how that would be impactful, especially like if you're the kind of person who plays that game with a heavy involvement in what your sim does, like heavy involvement in like like helping them achieve their goals as opposed to like being a passive observer of them, which I think would also have. I think there are benefits to that kind of gameplay too. But when you craft these sims and you kind of you insert like certain creative things or insert a little bit of yourself into them, and then watching them grow old and die, or maybe go through hardships of their own.
Well, I'll say that's one thing that the later Sims games have actually done better, specifically The Sims 4, is that like there are so many more personalities that you can assign to your Sims now than there ever have been. Right? 3
Right.
is objectively a better game,
Right.
but yeah, like
And
I've made some weird ass personality people in The Sims 4.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah, Kleptomaniac's always pretty funny, like watching playthroughs of that. Also, like if you have kids, then like while they're at school or whatever, it'll be like, oh, like they got in a fight with their friend. So like, how do you want to like handle this? And you have like options. So like you actually also like, even if you're in a passive aspect, like there's a lot of things to it where you have to actively like make decisions that impact these people's personalities.
Right. Yeah, and I think honestly that that permadeath in the sim, like the idea of that character just being gone, is there's a little bit of some of like kind of a weird comfort, like especially if you have made sure that sim has started a family and has a lineage that can continue on, then like that's kind of like the blow of that sim dying is kind of lessened by the idea like, well, he had a son who can carry on his name and do great things on his own, like he'd be the next great burglar like that his dad was, because my sims are always burglars. So whereas like with a lot of other, like with the game like with Darkest Dungeon, right? Like all of these characters exist, like they exist in concert with one another in so far as like in like an RPG party sort of way, but they are like, it is very rarely that they interact with one another in a meaningful way. Well, I should say this, like mechanically, like sometimes like you might have like the character who goes crazy, starts berating one of the other characters, and then that has a negative effect, right? But they don't form relationships, right? They don't like once the quest is over, they don't interact with one another. But at the same, so that is another one of those cases where like I am very much assigning like personalities to these people, but then like it's kind of difficult because that can be undermined by the game, in that like this is the personality that I have laid out for this person, but something happened during a quest, and now they have a bad quirk and that's antithetical to like this personality that I've assigned to them. So it can be tricky there, but at the same time, you pour all this time into these characters. You have like a group that you go into the dungeon with, and then the most unsettling part of that game is the degradation of their mental state as they're going through the dungeons, and like as things are happening to them, and you're watching them go through these traumas, and then then eventually like they just snap, and then like, and there are those rare cases where like the character gets to the point of no return. Not necessarily a point of no return, but it would be
very hard to make them sane and healthy.
Yeah, it would
again.
be hard to bring them back, and then you make the decision like, well, I guess this guy is just going to. I guess I'm just going to resign him to his own madness now.
I think that sequel just got announced, right?
Yeah, they released a trailer, a teaser trailer for it.
So like I think the most interesting thing that we get to see, that I hope we do see, like Quantic Dreams kind of hits on it.
Yeah.
In that like those games continue whether or not a character lives or dies, right?
Yeah. They did that with Heavy Rain, right?
They did it with Heavy Rain and again with Detroit, I believe.
Okay.
I didn't play Detroit, but I'm pretty sure. What I would like to see is a more like a AAA action game in the same vein. Like if the next Last of Us game had permadeath,
right,
but the story continued whether or not somebody lived or died.
Right.
I think that could be interesting.
Yeah.
It could lend a lot of replay value to that game, and actually, like with a writing team like that, could actually be really good and meaningful.
Yeah.
I've not seen anything like that.
Like imagine if like you played the first Last of Us, right?
Yeah.
And like, and Joel died in one of the early levels.
Right. Like you can control many characters, right? Like maybe Tess is playable, and maybe Bill is playable,
right,
or whatever. And one of them dies, and that's it.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty neat.
I can't think of any right now, but can y'all think of any games where like when the character dies, it like negatively impacts like the rest of the group? Besides just not having that character there to like lend the strength. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not really. I mean, yeah, not really. I mean, I guess, but other than what you're saying, from like a statistical standpoint, right?
Yeah.
Like when you have fewer Pikmin, it fucking blows, right?
Yeah.
But other than
Do you
that,
give your Pikmin personalities?
No.
Do you have a favorite?
No.
I think that one of the bigger challenges of that would be trying to write around that. To account for that.
I was thinking more like a debuff, like if you have like a bond with somebody in like Fire Emblem, and like that person dies, like the character that was like bonded with them for like maybe 1 or 2 fights is like super sad.
Yeah.
Or has like just a debuff on there.
The closest thing that I've seen is what I was talking about in State of Decay 2, where if a survivor dies, then like the morale of the group is lessened.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly what that affects. Like there is like a definite stat that is affected by that, but I can't remember what it is. And that lasts for like, they don't mourn for very long. It's like 2 days. And I guess
they're zombies.
I guess it could be argued that you can't afford to mourn for longer than that, but yeah, that like they try to insert that as a part of as a mechanic, but they even still like. But you still you don't understand why that would happen, because before that the characters don't interact with one another in a way that would make you believe that they would mourn the loss of that person.
Mm-hmm. But as far as going back to what you said about you think the writing would be difficult to do for something like that, I don't think it would be. Like they did it with Quantic Dream games, and I won't say that they're the best written games because they're not.
Yeah.
It's still there and it's still emotional,
Yeah.
It could be done, especially by better writers than them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like Telltale, right? Like when you have the choice between one character and another, and one dies, they're just writing to two different scenarios.
Yeah.
So you just write to however many outcomes there could be, but.
So
do you think? But I think that there can be something said about that being done poorly.
I mean, it's been done poorly, but
yeah, I would say I was like, because I can think of I don't know. I mean, you're right.
I mean, even
you're
The
right.
Walking Dead, right, which won literally hundreds of Game of the Year awards, right?
That game is also fantastic.
It doesn't really matter who lives or dies. It does maybe to you, your personal journey through the game, but the outcome's the same either way.
Right. I would actually say, well, this is a personal thing, but to me, in the Walking Dead, there was that first game anyway. There was only one death that actually mattered to me. Whereas
Duck.
Yeah, poor Duck. Actually, that was actually really sad. But again, it was a case where but that's the thing though, is that that was written to happen beforehand, right?
Right.
So it would regardless of the decision that you made, Duck would have died. And it would have been cool to expand that to maybe Duck lives and it's Kenny's wife that gets bitten, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the team that wrote that would probably be the one that I would trust to pull something like that off, in a way that I would actually care about.
Yeah.
Because they you said it's been done before, but not in a way that would affect me on any level beyond well, that sucks.
I think Persona team could do something cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking about
because
that.
you do build you choose what relationships you want to.
Social links.
Right. So they could do. I don't think that they ever will, but
yeah.
I mean, honestly, some of the characters. Well, one of the characters in Persona 5, I want to hear they died because I never used them.
Sure, but that's you.
Yeah.
Well, I'm saying I'd be I don't care as in I think that I would be fine with them leaving, and I think it would add to the story for me personally, having that option there.
Right.
just because like I never upgraded them. I never did anything really with them much.
I think that BioWare could have done. Like, I think that would have been cool to see BioWare have done that with some of their past RPGs. Like to see them do that in Knights of the Old Republic, or to see them do that in Mass Effect would have been really cool. Like there are characters who die in each of those games, but they are predetermined story beats that cause their death, as opposed to like them dying in like just a random encounter that you had. But I think that it would lend a more profound gravity to each encounter if like it was possible that you're going to permanently lose one of these characters that you really like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that I can't see them ever doing that. But it'd be a cool experiment anyway. Because I think that they've classically always done the thing where a person passes out and then they're in the fight, and then after the fight is over, then they're like, oh man, what happened? But it would be cool to see something like that. But I think that there are. I guess I can't really speak to, because I feel like there might be an aversion to a BioWare type RPG like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's an aversion to permadeath for a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at when Hellblade released.
Mm-hmm.
Just the thought of having permadeath turned a lot of people off.
Right? Yeah, and it was almost.
And the game actually does not have it.
Yeah.
The message is there to put that thought in your head as a new player to think, hey, this is important, right?
Yeah.
But like,
and I think that
was a whole big thing when that happened, right?
Yeah, I think that was also a lot of people's first. Their first experience with the concept of permadeath.
Yeah, but like people complained loudly about that, you know.
Yeah.
Loudly.
And it didn't even exist.
Yeah.
But
it was effective in so far that it kind of lent a sense of urgency to.
Well, it's like in that game specifically, I died once.
Yeah.
Throughout the entire playthrough, right?
Yeah.
But like, I constantly thought about it.
Yeah.
You know.
Now, before, like, by the time you had gotten around to finishing it, like, you had found out that, like, it wasn't.
No.
No? You found out after the fact?
I found out, like, last month that it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because Bailey's been playing it, she died many times, and I was like, how many times can you actually die?
Yeah.
So I tried to look it up, and yeah, it turns out it's not a thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, and Hellblade is a pretty easy game. But yeah, just that thought there made each fight more meaningful.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's probably, like, from a gameplay standpoint, I think, honestly, that is one of the more effective reasons to insert permadeath into your game. Because I think that, like, with games where you know, like, with games where you know that like it's always a low stake situation, right? Either you're gonna live, or you're gonna die, or like you might have a reload screen.
So like Ninja Gaiden, where you get like an achievement for like 1,000 deaths.
Yeah.
You know what? So you just made me think of something that I wanted to talk about when you guys first brought this topic up. With Ninja Gaiden, like, and I'm thinking of old Ninja Gaiden. I know you're talking about the newer Ninja Gaiden games, but like. In older video games, right, tons of NES games did this. You'd have a set amount of lives, and you die, and you have a set amount of continues, and you die, and you have to start the game over.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of permadeath in a way. And, like, yeah, you have to die a few times, right?
Yeah.
But, like...
But there is a point at which you will have to start the game over.
Right.
I think
in that sense, I wish more games did that, you know? I would not mind if more games had lives and continues and then you're
like it was refreshing to me when Wolfenstein the New Order came out, and they had health packs.
Right.
Like those old school conventions coming back was like really refreshing to me.
Right.
And the idea of
having... I do think over the last generation, they've like the industry as a whole has started trying to make games more difficult again. Last generation, everything was a fucking cakewalk, right?
Yeah.
Now it seems like they're trying to make things a bit more old school.
Yeah, and I think that with like live and continues, you're gonna see that a lot. You're gonna probably see that mostly with arcadey beat 'em up type games.
And I'm fine with that, but like if The Last of Us 2 had lives and continues, I would not be mad about it.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand it's a holdover from the arcade and all that, and it's unnecessary, but like it puts a little bit of challenge there, and it gives you that same feeling that Hellblade gives you.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, like I go back to when I played through Diablo 3 on hardcore because I was trying to get a trophy. There were times where because like in Diablo 3 when like you're about to die, like the screen starts flashing red, and there were times where I was like, holy shit, like and you know when I got through a fight, it was like, wow, right. Whereas like in normal mode on Diablo, like you'll die,
no biggie,
and then like there is. I don't want to say that there is no consequence for death in normal mode of Diablo 3, but like
what is there then?
Like
there is no consequence.
There is like something happens when you die. It's just it is so especially like by the time you get to late game, it is so minute that you just don't notice it. Like it is like it's annoying to die, but like it's not a big deal. Whereas like you know with Diablo 2, like if you die, you get like your stuff, you gotta go get your stuff. But that's not a thing in Diablo 3. So like playing on hardcore, especially when you're playing like on the hard difficulties, like it's fun to see like I want to see how far I can get, you know.
And I really, you know, like I hate when people will refer to it as a holdover from arcade because yes, technically it is, and so is score, but like score can still be fun in the right setting.
Yeah.
You know.
Leaderboard. I don't think leaderboards will ever not be cool.
You know, watching my son play Mario Odyssey. Mario Odyssey, they remove lives and continues. There are no lives, right? Because why? But if you think about like the original Super Mario Brothers, technically there's permadeath.
Yeah.
Right? So like I think that sense of fear could be interesting if done right.
I don't think it would be that hard to do it correctly either. I think I don't know. I think that there is there's also like definitely an appeal to that. Like I think that giving me something where I feel like my victories have more impact is gonna be a big deal. Like even like when I played through Dark Souls when I played through Dark Souls and I played through Bloodborne, like were some of those fights challenging? Like, yes, absolutely. But I also knew that like I could just keep throwing myself at these fights over and over again until I won.
Right.
Whereas if you were to make a Soulsborne game that had permadeath or a permadeath mode anyway.
Or lives.
Yeah, or lives.
Lives that lead to permadeath.
Imagine like, you know, imagine what like the life that that genre of games would take on if there was a point at which like you might get to the last boss, but you're also on your last life, and so if you die, you have to start this entire thing over.
Right.
And I think that would be a hard pill to swallow for a large number of people.
And I don't think every game needs it.
But I think that for the people who were into it, I can't help but think that would be like that would be a gratifying experience. And I think that, and honestly, I've talked before about how it is great that games are looking prettier, but making games more satisfying and interesting is a priority for me. And I think that finding ways to do that is a great way to lend real like cultural impact to your video game. And I'm not necessarily saying that putting lives or permadeath in a Soulsborne game is the answer to of all answers, but like I do think that it would be. I do think that personally, I would love to play one of those games where there's a possibility that I'm gonna have to start this game over if I fuck up. Because there is a tension to fights in those games, but like in the back of my mind, I know that I can always just do it again. And so if I knew at the front of my mind that if like I fuck this up, I have to like everything that I've done is wiped out. You know that would be really awesome to me. But I mean, I don't know how large of a percentage of video gamers make up that mindset. But it'd be neat.
I mean, obviously there like is like a community that wants that as well.
Yeah, I hope they patch permadeath into Kingdom Hearts.
only for making it goofy though.
Sure. I predict that like at the end of Kingdom Hearts, they'll reveal that Goofy is the villain.
All right, yeah. I'll put like $5 so that it's not real.
Okay. I think that's what's gonna happen.
So do you
have
have
a
any?
game?
I do have a game. I like
The
all
Stumpdom.
like all the games that I have done so far. I don't have a title for this one.
Okay.
So
Tell us what it is. We'll come up with the title.
yeah. So it's gonna. So I'm gonna be talking about special edition consoles, and you're gonna tell me if it exists or not. I did like when I wrote it in my notes. I did it like a true false
Hey,
format.
question: is one of the special edition consoles a Mountain Dew Xbox?
No.
Okay.
That
That
so
was
yeah.
cool.
This one, y'all both are gonna give an answer, and like you both could get a point, or nobody could get a point,
Okay.
instead of like whoever says it first.
I don't know. I'm feeling not great against going against Tommy 2 points again.
But yeah. So,
Wait. So we just shout out the answer, or what?
no. I'm gonna ask you the question, and then I'll
You
It doesn't
allow us
exist or
first
not.
to answer.
Okay. So true or false?
Yeah, true. I wrote down like a question in true or false format. We can just say like, does it exist or not?
Okay.
Is that the name of the game? Does it exist or not?
No, that's a terrible name.
That is a terrible name.
What's a good name?
I wrote down in my notes special edition true or false, but like that's
No.
not.
Are you
good.
saying false or false?
She puts T's in all of her S's.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Shanae. There's no T in there.
All right.
Say true or false.
True or false?
You said it differently.
Yeah.
I probably did. I probably put a T in it. So Men in Black PlayStation 1.
False.
True.
True.
Wow.
Game Boy Micro Pokemon Special Edition.
False.
False.
It exists.
Okay.
It's actually red and has a little Pikachu on it for some reason. I mean, I know why the Pikachu, but I don't know why it's red.
Don't act like you don't think that's cool.
This one, because I wrote it in like that true false format. It's kind of like it's more of like a question.
Okay.
Limited edition Mario Wii U is red.
Oh wait, so the question isn't whether or not it exists, but whether or not it's red.
Yeah.
False.
Because there is like
It's not red.
Because I think there's three. Because there's three of them.
False.
Yeah, it is false. Both correct. 50-cent 360 console.
Oh. that sounds real cool though.
What are you saying?
True.
It is true.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah, I was trying to come up with something different.
So were you taking note of how
Ryan, you're up by 1 on that game.
Okay.
Yeah, so by next week I will have
That's Berto.
yeah.
Wait, no, I think you're up by 2 on that game.
Next week I'll have an actual scoreboard. I found like a little
Like a physical board.
like a physical board.
Cool.
Yeah. So we'll have the scores actually like displayed somehow.
Okay.
Or we'll at least have them written down.
Do you know how many points Tommy and I has up to this point?
No, I can get our recordings and calculate
I
that.
just feel like you should have already been doing it.
I should have, but I didn't.
Okay.
This should be real.
I want like a scoreboard to appear on screen.
Okay.
Could probably do that.
You do that to me.
I can make that happen.
Can you?
Yes.
Will you?
Yes.
By next week.
By next
Yes.
All right.
I'm making a promise. If I don't
week?
do
Oh,
it,
promise? All right, she said it on tape.
You realize we're recording next week's episode right now. So get on that.
But yeah, so I guess that's all I have for the game today.
You're funny, Tom.
If you want to tell us your thoughts about permadeath, we're on like Instagram, we have a Discord, Facebook, Twitter. You can find us on most podcasts.
You know, you almost said Pogs, and I was thinking like Pogs is permadeath that you're playing for keeps.
Yeah. So that's the end of our show, and bye guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.